Hi everybody, in this video we are talking about full spectrum ND filters, what they are and why they are so useful and how they differentiate to normal ND filters. You're gonna find out in this video. Coming up. Hi guys, my name is Paul, I'm a German-based cinematographer and this channel is all about filmmaking, gear reviews, but also DaVinci Resolve tutorials. So if that's something that you're interested in, consider subscribe. So before I have to apologize because I'm outside here and it seems to be pretty windy, even though I don't live near the coast, but here it's somehow windy today. But anyway, let's talk about full spectrum ND filters. So what means full spectrum? So full spectrum basically means that these ND filters cut out every spectrum of light that is out there. Also meaning, for example, infrared light, which most of the other normal ND filters or variable ND filters don't cut out. So you end up with an image when your variable ND is turned to almost maximum, or let's say 7 to 8 stops, and you don't have an IR cut filter on there, then you end up that your blacks are looking magenta. So therefore it's useful to use full spectrum ND filters because they cut out every kind of light. Specifically, I'm talking about the element ND filters. I've used them on a bunch of different projects the last couple months, and I really have to say that I really like them. The quality of them is really nice. The glass here is manufactured by SCHOTT in Germany, although what is inside and how they actually work comes from Element Indeed, is a US brand. I will link it for you down below. And as you can see right here, they have kind of this reflective side, and if you turn it, then you have it like normal black. This is a three-stop ND. And the way you should use them is that this side here, this reflective side, should always show to the outside, not to the lens, always to the outside. That's the way how to use them. And they work pretty well compared to another ND filter. You see here that you don't get any IR pollution, which is pretty great. And they come up to 9 stops, I think, so yeah. And the way that these filters in general work, these ones are straight ND filters and they are also squared, so meaning they're used to be inside of a matte box. So you just slide them in. You have them in, for example, these are 3 stops, but you get also 1 stops, 2 stops, 4 stops, and so on. So you can stack them onto each other until you have your desired exposure. Now, compared to a variable ND, you have much more freedom because you can dial in much more precisely how you want to have your exposure. And it's always said that variable ND always has a color cast and straight filters doesn't have that, not so much. So I also tested that. So I tested the Element ND filters compared to the Nisi True Color ND filters and also without ND filter. And as you can see in the images, you always get this kind of green cast with the Element ND filters. Even though I was in the studio or was using it outside. It's not that bad actually. Now let's come to 2 very important aspects of using straight or full spectrum ND filters compared to screw-on variable ND filters. So first off is on set, you mainly use proper full spectrum ND filters because that's the way they do it. They have like 1 stop, 2 stop, and so therefore it's pretty helpful for you to use them because then you're kind of used to using them in terms of you just always use a variable ND filter and you just don't know what 2 stops mean or get me a 0.03 or whatsoever. So just for you to get familiar, if you want to work on a bigger set, they are always used full spectrum ND filters. But also now come to the other very important factor, because if you're just working alone as a one-man band, for example, the cost effectiveness is also to be considered. Now it varies from manufacturer to manufacturer, right? But generally you can just buy 1 variable ND filter or maybe just 2, 1 to 5 stops and 6 to 9 stops, and then you're basically good to go. Whereas with the Other ND filters, you kind of need a proper mat box. You need a couple of ND filters to get to the desired exposure. So it's pretty clear, I think, that normal or straight full spectrum mat box ND filters are much more expensive. But I think in the long run, they are much worth it, because as you progress in your career, and generally you don't have much issues, because every time I use a variable ND filter, I need to stack on additionally an IR cut filter in front of my camera, and then it's just getting a mess. And if you want to change them, it also takes time. So for me personally, it's taking the exact same amount of time changing the ND filter from variable ND with a screw-on technique, as well as changing in the mat box. I think I might be a little bit faster with the mat box. So that's something to be considered also from the workflow. But generally speaking, I prefer using full spectrum ND filters, and definitely have an eye on the element ND filters. So let's end the video by a question. Have you already used straight or full spectrum ND filters compared to variable ND filters? What are your experience in that? Just tell them in the comments below. And if you have any further questions, also drop them there. And I'm gonna see you in my very next one. Cheers!